insecticide in any room of a house that I'm in without my nose starting to itch or I start to sneeze. How about dusting, sweeping, and all of that? Very, very risky. Or risky. And then sorting clothes that have been in a box for so long and have that portmanteau smell. Oh my goodness. Well, for some others, it's the fact that they cannot even eat nuts without having swollen eyes or rashes. And in extreme cases, we hear of people who are being rushed to the hospital because they ate certain foods that their bodies do not agree with. Now, all of this tell of a condition we know to be called an allergy. Hi, Saints. My name is Marianne Ushi, and this is Catholic Faith Forum. Our topic for today is allergies and how to manage them. And I chose this topic merely out of personal experiences. Maybe I just need answers that Google is not giving me. Well, it's a packed episode, I must say. We have Evelyn on standby to tell us about the life of Saint Clare of Assisi, and we also have our Know Your Faith session on the significance of incense. So trust me, you do not want to miss this. Let's go on a quick break. We'll start the conversation afterwards. Don't go anywhere.
Sorry about that. Allergies, huh? They're like unexpected guests at your party. But picture this. Amidst the sniffles, the word of God as our shelter in the storm. Just as we seek refuge from our allergies, let us find comfort in our faith, standing strong together, come rain, shine, or even your silly allergies. Bless me, and God bless you.
Welcome back, Saints. This is CFF, Catholic Faith Forum, and today we're talking allergies and how to manage them. Do you think that you're allergic to certain things? How do you manage them? What could be the cause of this? Could it be that you were born with it, or you just maybe grew up with it? Well, all these questions are what we're about to answer right now on the show. And I have with me an amazing medical doctor. Yes. To answer my questions, because I have a lot of questions for him. And he's none other than Dr. Nonso Udechukwu. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Oh shit, are you sure?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that's nice. I like the fact that you are laughing. Most times you see doctors and they are very, very serious. And I'm like, hey, Lou, am I supposed to talk to you if you're being serious? Well, Dr. Nonso is a medical doctor, a graduate of University of Lagos College of Medicine. Yes, and he currently works with Lagoon Hospitals in the critical care unit. His interests are medicine, philanthropy, sports, music, comedy. His hobbies are cooking, a doctor that can cook, swimming, dancing, playing sports. He's able to find joy in little things, and he has an adventurous spirit. Dr. Nonso Udechukwu.
Hello.
Once again, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Okay, so I see that your interest is music.
Yes.
Can you sing?
Not really. I think I'm more on the listening side than the singing side.
Voila. Really?
Yeah.
But you can try. You're not that bad at it now. Okay, what's your favorite song?
Do I have a favorite song? I don't know. I just go with what makes me feel good at a particular
What's the last song
time.
you listened to?
The last, it was actually an instrumental, so it doesn't necessarily have to be songs.
Avoiding singing.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I'm more about the sound than even. So I'm good with instrumentals. Wow. They like help me focus and stuff. Yeah.
Very smart of you, I must say. Okay, you have escaped. It's fine, no problem.
No problem.
So you cook.
Yes.
What's your favorite food to cook?
My favorite food to cook. So there's this I call it a seafood special. I don't know what to call it, but has snails. Yeah, pretty much.
Are you single?
Yes.
Okay, so
let's leave it at that.
Don't worry. All right, our topic for today is allergies and how to manage them.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. What are allergies and how do they manifest in our bodies?
Okay. So the most basic definition of allergies, I think allergies are basically, or let me use an individual. Okay. When an individual has an abnormal reaction to something that everybody else or most other people would have no reaction to. So that's the easiest way to define what an allergy is. As for how it manifests, it varies from person to person. Sometimes it can be local in the sense of that maybe something comes in contact with your skin. At that point where that thing comes in contact, you know, you have a reaction there. And then sometimes it can be systemic, where, you know, there are symptoms everywhere, breathing difficulty, skin changes. So it varies from person to person. And then, of course, severity also varies from person to person. But that's like the basic summary of what allergies are.
So basically an abnormal reaction.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the various kinds of allergies? Are they like classified into kinds and types and all of that? And some common allergens that people react to?
Okay, so there's no strict classification, but just for purpose of understanding, we can kind of separate them. So like I said initially, we have like local and then systemic. Then we have, if we can also classify them based on what they affect. So we can have dermatological allergies, basically those affecting the skin, ocular allergies, those affecting the eyes, respiratory allergies affecting the respiratory system. So we can, yes, classify that in that way, but it's not like there's one strict classification, you know, anywhere. As for things that people are commonly allergic to, they are common things, but there are some things that are particular to some people. The most common things, we have dust, or more like dust mites, not necessarily the dust itself, but we actually have mites in our dust, that microscopic
mites, like
yes, insects. Yes. They're like microscopic insects. That's usually what triggers the reaction most of the time. So we have dust mites, we have pollen. Pollen is not so common in our part of the world, but if you go Western countries, it's more common. Dust mites, pollen, smoke. Then when you come to food, we have things like fish or seafood generally, shrimps. Then we go to nuts. Nuts is also very common, more in the Western world. But we've noticed that as, you know, people start to travel, as people start to intermarry, things like that, those seemingly less common allergies are starting to occur in our own part of the world.
But yeah, I get you. Okay, so what are the causes of these allergies? Are people born with them, or do they come about maybe from something you did or you're doing? I don't know. What causes allergies, basically? Okay,
so with allergies generally, nature and nurture play a role.
Nature and nurture.
Yes, so of course there's the genetic predisposition. Usually if you have a relative that has one form of allergy, you are more likely to have an allergy. It may not necessarily be the same one, but you are more likely to have an allergy. So so usually you see if you have a relative that has asthma, the person might have eczema. Now, eczema is not the one we all call eczema. That eczema is not actually as a result of the person being dirty, or it's actually an allergic reaction. Yeah.
Does it come and go?
Yeah, it comes and goes. It's a form of dermatitis. It comes and goes. It can be there for months. Sometimes you see they have like flare-ups. So that's the nature aspect of it. Then of course there's nurture. Functional. Okay.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Yes. It's time for us to find out about our saint of the week, Saint Clare of Assisi. Take it away.
Our saint of the week is Saint Clare of Assisi. Saint Clare of Assisi was born in Assisi on July 16, 1194, as a Chiara of Fredusio, the beautiful eldest daughter of her parents. Tradition says her father was a wealthy representative of an ancient Roman family, and her mother was a very devout woman belonging to the noble family of Fiume. Basically, they were rich. As a young girl, Clare dedicated herself to prayer. At 18 years, she heard St. Francis of Assisi preach during a Lenten service in the Church of San Giorgio and asked him to help her live according to the Gospel. On Palm Sunday in 1212,
Claire left her father's home and went to the chapel of Pionzocula to meet with Francis. While there, Claire's hair was cut off and she was given a plain robe and veil in exchange for her rich gown. Claire joined the convent of Benedictine nuns of San Polo near Bastia under Francis' order. When her father found her and attempted to force her back into his home, she refused and professed that she would have no other husband than Jesus Christ. In order to give her the greater solitude she desired, Francis sent Claire to San Angelo in Panzo, another Benedictine nuns monastery. Amazing fact is that Claire's sister, Caterina, who took the name Agnes, joined her at this monastery. The two remained there until a separate dwelling was built for them next to the church of San Damiano. Over time, other women joined them, wanting to also be brides of Jesus and live with no money. They became known as the poor ladies of San Damiano. They all lived a simple life of austerity, seclusion from the world, and poverty, according to a rule which Francis gave them as a second order. St. Claire and her sisters wore no shoes, ate no meat, lived in a poorhouse, and kept silent most of the time. Their lives consisted of manual labor and prayer. Yet, they were very happy, because our Lord was close to them all the time. By 1216, Claire became the abbess of San Damiano. Claire was so devoted and dedicated to Francis that she was often referred to as an alter Franciscus, meaning another Francis. She encouraged and aided the man she saw as a spiritual father figure and took care of him as he grew old. Following Francis' death, Claire continued to promote her order, fighting off every attempt from each pope trying to impose a rule on her order that would water down their radical commitment to corporate poverty. Now listen to this mind-blowing event. In 1224, an army of rough soldiers from Frederick II came to attack Assisi. Although she was very sick, Claire went out to meet them with the Blessed Sacrament in her hands. She had the Blessed Sacrament placed at the wall where the enemies could see it. Then on her knees, she begged God to save the sisters. A voice seemed to answer, "I will keep them always in my care." In that moment, a sudden fright struck the attackers and they fled as fast as they could without harming anyone in Assisi. St. Claire became sick and suffered great pains for many years, but she expressed that no pain could trouble her. So great was her joy in serving the Lord that she once exclaimed, "They say that we are too poor, but can a heart which possesses the infinite God be truly called poor?" On August 9, 1253, Pope Innocent IV declared that Claire's rule would serve as the governing rule for Claire's order of poor ladies. 2 days later, Claire died at the age of 59. In 1255, Pope Alexander IV canonized Claire as Saint Claire of Assisi. The Order of Poor Ladies was officially changed to the Order of Saint Claire in 1263 by Pope Urban IV. Saint Claire was designated as the patron saint of television in 1958 by Pope Pius XII because when Saint Claire was very ill, she could not attend Mass and was reportedly able to see and hear it on the wall in her room. Amazing. She's also the patroness of eye diseases, goldsmith, and laundry. Claire is often pictured carrying a monstrance or a pikes to commemorate the time she warded off the soldiers at the gates of her convent with the Blessed Sacrament. St. Claire's feast day is celebrated on the 11th of August. I hope that just as St. Claire, our hearts may be possessed by the one true God. And so we say, St. Claire of Assisi, pray for us.
Welcome back, Saints, and thank you, Evelyn, for that session on the life of Saint Claire. Wonderful story there, I must say. Okay, back to our conversation. So before the break, we were talking about the causes of allergies. We talked of nature and nurture. So you explained that nature could be hereditary, and then now you're about to move to nurture?
Yes, so just to recap, nature, yes, hereditary aspect, genetic aspect. Now, when it comes to nurture, so there are two sides to it. There's too much exposure, and then there's no exposure. So part of what plays a role in allergies being more prominent in the Western world as opposed to our part of the world is the fact that for many of us, from the day we are born, fortunately or unfortunately, in our society, from like 2 years, 3 years, you are running around on the road. You are, as a boy, you are playing football. As a girl, you are cutting leaves, cooking soup. So we are naturally exposed to a lot of things. And so our bodies are less sensitive to those things. Okay? In that part of the world, and then it's starting to become more prominent here. In that part of the world and in our own society now, we see mothers who, a child's toy falls on the floor. They pick it up, they wash it, wipe it, soak it in bleach, do everything. Sometimes in those early years, we build up immune responses, which, if they are not properly, developed at a certain point, can manifest as allergies in the future. So as much as we want to try to keep the area clean, and not let the child, some of it is necessary. In fact, in some countries, they have gotten to the point where they do some studies that people who have some kind of severe allergic reactions, they actually expose them to microorganisms as part of their treatment. There was one, I can't confirm, but like I saw somewhere so extreme that they literally had to bring like some parasitic worms and introduce to the person just to prevent the person from having severe allergic reactions. So there's the nurture aspect in the sense of that there has to be like guided exposure, let's call it that way. Children, of course, you should not allow them roll in the mud and roll in the gutter, but to some extent, let them experience the world so that 10, 20 years down the line, they don't run into a random flower, then everything just goes crazy. So,
okay, I get you. So how can people be tolerant to potential allergies?
So I think the first and the easiest step is identification. For many people who have allergies, especially here, they don't necessarily know what it is. Oh, they just know, like, for example, what I said about dust mites. Some people just think it's just the dust. It's not necessarily just the dust most of the time. It's actually the dust mites. So a lot of people don't know.
Dust that has the mites?
It's just assumed that it's there pretty much. Anywhere that has rugs, curtains, car seats, things like that. It's just there. I don't know of any place where they've eliminated dust mites. So, there's that. So first step is, of course, to identify it and then eliminate whatever that potential thing is as much as possible. And then, of course, for those who have now identified, eliminated, of course, there are medications and all that can be given, to either prevent the symptoms or make the symptoms much milder even if they come, about. Yeah, so there's that.
Okay, so you have to identify it and also see how you can help to manage it with medications. So what foods are most commonly associated with allergies? We've mentioned seafood, generally. We've mentioned nuts. Are there any other weird ones now? Let me put it that way.
So, like I said, I'll start again by saying it varies from person to person. True. So, but of course, there are like the really common ones, like I said, seafood, especially shrimp, nuts. I know a whole family that anything that has fish, crayfish, anything at all, they literally can't eat it. So, milk, that's what's manifesting people that are lactose intolerant. So, those are the common things. But some people have some peculiar things. I know people that react to berries, cranberry, any kind of berry really, like have swollen lips, itchy throat, so varies from person to person. But these ones I've mentioned are like let's say 7 out of 10.
Yes, I asked because sometimes you want to give someone a gift and then you don't know that the person could be allergic to that. So I think now if I want to buy perfume for somebody, I ask the person, are you allergic to berries?
To berries, nuts. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So how are allergies diagnosed? Most times you eat or you do a lot of things and then they come and tell you that what you're suffering from is an allergic reaction. How did they know that it is an allergic reaction to seafood that brought that person to the hospital or something? How are allergies diagnosed?
Okay, so clinically, sometimes we look at the symptoms that the person presents with. Usually especially the systemic symptoms, there are some things that you colloquially see. Somebody, you always get that story or that history. Oh, he was at a party, he had this cake, he saw something in it, but he wasn't really sure what it was, but he just had it. And then starts having breathing difficulty, swollen lips, swollen eyes. So there's that. So usually, clinically, it's usually based on what the person tells us. There'll always be that story. Yeah. It will usually be one new thing. Maybe they went out, had something that they've not had before, or they've not had in a very long time, and then everything just goes haywire. But in terms of testing, there are specific tests that we do, like a skin prick or a scratch test, where we so there's this big patch basically with like little circles, something like that. So they place it on maybe like the back or somewhere hidden, and then in each circle they just introduce small quantities of a lot of these common things that we talk about that can potentially cause these allergic reactions, and then leave it for maybe a few hours, maybe a day or two, and then come back and see, okay, which of these things caused the reaction. And that's one of the ways to definitively know what caused that reaction. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so let's go on a quick break. It's time for us to meet Elefachi for our Know Your Faith session. Over to you, girl.
Oftentimes, we question or misunderstand the essence of certain things in the church, and one of them is the incense. Hello Saints, I am Elefachi, and I'm so excited to have you on this episode of Know Your Faith series, where we will be talking about the essence of the incense. You see that? In the Old Testament, God gave Moses instructions on how to build the tabernacle, and in Exodus chapter 30, God tells Moses to build an altar of incense to stand to the side of the altar of sacrifice. Still in the Old Testament, when the priest enters the tabernacle each morning and evening to tend the perpetually burning lamps, he is also commanded to offer incense. Just as the oil lamps were to burn constantly in the temple as a sign of God's presence, so there was a constant pillar of smoke ascending to heaven from the tabernacle. Meanwhile, in the New Testament, John the Baptist's father, Zechariah, a priest of the Jewish religion, was performing the evening offering of incense in the temple when Angel Gabriel appeared, informing him of the pregnancy of his wife, Elizabeth. And this was what the psalmist referred to in Psalm 141 verse 2. Let my prayer be like incense before you, my uplifted hands, an evening offering. Here are 5 reasons why we use incense for Mass. 1. For purification and sanctification. In the ancient tradition, at the beginning of the Mass, the altar and sanctuary area were incensed, while Psalm 50, the Psalm for Mercy, the Miserere, was chanted, invoking the mercy of God. The smoke symbolizes the prayers of the faithful drifting up to heaven. Like the psalmist prays in Psalm 141 verses 2, like we saw earlier, let my prayer come like incense before you, the lifting up of my hands like the evening sacrifice. It creates the ambience of heaven. You must have also noticed that when the incense is being burnt, it gives you that feeling of heaven. You get what I'm talking about, right? The book of Revelation also describes the heavenly worship as follows. Another angel came in holding a censer of gold. He took his place at the altar of incense and was given large amounts of incense to deposit on the altar of gold in front of the throne, together with the prayers of all God's holy ones. From the angel's hand, the smoke of the incense went up before God, and with it, the prayers of God's people. That's the book of Revelation. 3. The usage of incense adds a sense of solemnity and mystery to the Mass. The visual imagery of the smoke and the smell reminds us of the transcendence of the Mass, which links heaven with earth and allows us to enter into the presence of God. 4. It is a sign of God's constant guiding presence to the people, as we see in Exodus when he led the Israelites through the wilderness. And finally, it is a symbol of prayer. Now you know the essence of incense. Spread the good news by sharing this with all those that need it. And as always, be bold, be Catholic.
Thank you very much, Elefachi, for that wonderful session talking about incense. Sometimes I feel like if I go close, I'm going to be reacting because I'm allergic to smoke and all of that. But it is what it is. Anyway, so how can allergies be cured?
Okay, so to answer that question broadly, we don't necessarily cure allergies. But there are 2 or 3 possibilities.
Okay.
One, we can manage it in terms of reduce how often people have the symptoms, and even when they do, reduce the severity. That's one. Okay. Secondly, in some scenarios, people outgrow allergies, especially allergies that start in childhood, in some scenarios. However, I'll add a clause that they've had the allergy before still puts them at risk of having it in future.
So I had this classmate in school who used to say that she cannot have a bath every day. Her body will start itching her. I didn't understand it.
Okay, so for that one, there are a number of possible causes. Okay. But I'll start by saying that there is a very, very, very small number of people in the world. I know it's going to sound strange to a lot of people that are allergic to water.
Wow.
Very small, but they exist. Last I checked, I mean, I'm not giving an exact number, maybe like 50 to 100 known people in the world that are allergic to water. So those kind of people, they shower once a week, shower for like 1 minute. Like the particular lady that I watched, like her case, a documentary, if she showers, she's in the shower for more than 2 minutes, 3 minutes. She comes out, her whole body is red. She feels like she's on fire. It's usually pretty bad. No.
So what does
she only drinks Diet Coke. That lady in particular only drinks Diet Coke. That was the only thing that she could tolerate. She doesn't go out when it's raining. She can't carry her child when her child is sweating. I mean, it's,
even sweat.
Yeah. So I mean that one is like pretty extreme. Yes. But there are people who actually have some. Now, it may not necessarily be the water itself. There may be something in the water. It might be, I mean, it might be pipes. It might be lead in the pipes, something that are allergic to. Now, there are some people who, how do I describe it, have a local skin reaction to friction with a sponge. So there are some people like that that when they bath with a sponge and scrub vigorously, by the time they get out, they're itching all over. They start to feel like a burning sensation.
Okay, so talking about still weird situations, or maybe not so weird. I know some people who can't wear bracelets or wristwatches. I have a friend who can't wear wristwatches because she starts to itch, and you can actually see a reaction, so to say. And then I've heard of someone who cannot wear what is not gold.
Yes. So there are people like that, and like I said, varies from person to person. Some people is silver, they can't wear silver.
Maybe not what is not gold, but what is, they can't wear fake gold or
something
like that.
I know somebody that only wears pure gold. If it's not pure gold, she can't wear it. Once she wears it, reaction. I know somebody who had a severe reaction to henna. I don't know if you know this thing that Hausa people put. Yeah. So she did a very nice design. And then the following day, she woke up and her hand was almost gone. Like, it was swollen all over. It took like 6 years for that pattern to actually disappear from her hand. So we all have very, very weird things that we react to. But it's about identifying what it is and just avoiding it.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Nonso, for that wonderful, enlightening session, I must say. So I'm sure that you now know what allergies are and you know of how to manage them. So make sure that you find out what it is that is causing that allergic reaction and try as much as possible to avoid it. You can also take certain medications for your allergies that could help you deal with them better, or that could stop them. If your allergy is like mine and you're allergic to dust or cold or smoke and all of that, and it causes you some reactions in your nose, in your respiratory system and the rest of it, try as much as possible to find the right medication to take. Whatever it is that you do, ensure that you're very observant of your body and that of the next person. Some people don't know that they are allergic to certain things. They just think that maybe it's their village people that are after them. So if you can counsel somebody at any point in time, ensure that you do so and direct them to the hospital so that they can find the right help that they need. Thank you very much, Nonso. I hope that I've been able to, summarize
Yes,
from your wealth of knowledge. Yeah. All right, that's our show for today. Don't forget, we're on social media at CFF on TV. You can also drop a comment or your questions in the comment section of our YouTube channel at Dominican Media. My name is Marianne Ushi, and you can catch me on Instagram at _Marianne Ushi. So until next time, keep being saints in jeans and shirts. Bye.